Hello friends, and welcome back to another beautiful day here at the ADD workshop. Today we're not in the workshop, we're actually out and about. A tornado hit our house about a week ago, um, knocked out power for about 3 or 4 days and dropped a whole bunch of trees around here. Um, Come to find out when the power went out that my nice big generator here that I have for hooking up to the entire house wouldn't start. It has an electric start down here, and it's no go. The battery has gone bad on me, um, due in part to, I believe, the charger that they gave with it. It's just it outputs what? Yeah, 3/4 of an amp at 12 volts. And being this type of charger, it just non-stops put that voltage out, regardless of what the battery needs. The benefit to it is it has a plug that just plugs right in, and you have a charged battery all the time. Um, but besides that benefit, it putting power non-stop into the battery completely killed it in no time. So I've got a new battery here. I'm going to swap them out, and instead of having that crappy charger still plugged up to this thing, I've got just a cheap battery tender type charger that will that float charger will just turn on and off as the battery needs voltage, rather than non-stop applying voltage to the battery and inevitably killing it, because the batteries don't like to be charged non-stop. That's the benefit to the battery tender or the float chargers of those type. Um, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cut these little sports off. I just have zip ties holding this battery on. My rubber elastic strap broke, and swap out this battery. And then I'm going to take this battery tender here and attach this plug to the end of this battery tender, so this will be my charger for now on with this big generator. So I'm gonna get started on that, and I'll bring y'all down here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so you don't need a whole lot to change these batteries out. I'm just using a 6-in-1 and a pair of pliers if I need it. These little nuts on the back, sometimes you have to hold them while you're unscrewing all of this. Actually, before I get started, let me cut this zip tie off. Alright, we're just going to cut off the zip tie here. There we go. I'm actually going to pull this battery out. We've got extra wire here, so it's no problem there, but we're outside of the chassis there, and it's a little easier to work on. Yep. Now we shouldn't have to worry about saving these screws. The new battery actually came with some screws on it, so we're going to use those if we can. Yeah, we didn't have to hold that one. But this is really easy stuff to do. I just bought this generator for backup, and as you can see, it actually is able to run off of gas or propane. The reason I got that was we actually have a very large propane tank in our backyard that we heat our house with. So in the case of severe emergency, I would call it, would actually be able to have power without having to have don't know what those are for. Alright, slip our little nut in there. Now if you've never installed I would call this a battery for your lawnmowers, four-wheelers, motorcycles, I'm not sure what type of battery you'd want to call it, but if you've never done it, they come with these little nuts that actually go under the posts, and then your screws come down and go into the nut. And it holds everything pretty securely. And I'm going to straighten these out if I don't lose a nut or a screw between the slats of my porch here. got to get that out with a pair of pliers. Okay, needle nose pliers, your best friend. Reach in, there we go. Get our little screw out of that slat there. As you can see, have slats in this porch, and luckily it hit right on a support and got stuck right in between the slat. So, can't complain about that, that's pretty nice. Alright, so we're going to actually put our wire into, oh, no we're not, we're going to put it on top. Go down to our nut there. And since the nut was square and it went into a square hole, you don't have to worry about holding the bottom of the screw, or the holding the nut to tighten your screw. You just have to worry about basically getting the nut started. Alright. And you also want to make sure you don't put your negative in your positive and get those backwards like I just did. Luckily I caught it before anything happened here, but that could have been bad. So, get my positive over here, spin this guy around. Alright. Okay. So our positive on there. We're going to go with our ground, negative, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so we got that good and tight. It doesn't look like it's going to fit in our little container here, which is unfortunate. Well, let's see if we can bend that out. How much are we missing? Oh, we're lacking about a 1/4 inch. And if that isn't just the way it always goes, what I'm actually going to do here, since this is just a frame to hold your battery, I'm not too concerned about it. I am going to take this front lip and bend it down to where my battery fits in. You want to do this little bits at a time. And you're going to keep working back and forth to keep it even. Otherwise you'll end up with just one plowed down spot, and you don't want that. You want it to be nice and even from one side to the other. So it looks like we're going to have to go just about flat with this. So let me do that and I'll bring y'all right back and show you the result. Okay, so I've gotten all this flattened out here. Found out better than channel locks, go with some linesman pliers. A nice flat end there really helps to bend something down flat. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, now that our battery will fit in there, I still have a hook here to have something secure, and I can go around it and still secure my battery just fine. Don't have to worry about clearance or anything like that. It's still within the sides of the tires here. Like I said, this thing's set for only about a year on the charger, charging itself up before it finally crapped out the battery. So like I said, that's completely unacceptable for me anyway, and for a generator in general. So like I said, I'm going to be installing this float charger. It's just a cheap little float charger, but I'm about to cut it and solder it together with the plug that actually fits into this jack here. So I'll be able to plug in my float charger straight into the generator the same as it was. Okay, I was just about to cut my wire, and I thought I'd mention, when you have a long adapter like this and you're wanting the plug off of it, what you're going to want to do is not cut it completely at the right at the charger. That way you still got something to attach to, and you can save this and maybe solder on a different plug that, you know, need a plug for something else. Also, while I'm here, I'm going to make sure that I have my polarity right. I'm just going to do this a real simple way. Could do it a couple different ways here. I could just test from the center to see which one of these is connected to the center, or I could strip these wires back, plug it in, making sure they're not touching because it's connected to your battery. And you pull out your handy multimeter here. Alright, and we're going to see when we touch this, when we touch these here, we get a positive 12.5 volts. Okay, now if I swap my leads around, we get negative 12.5 volts. So we know that whatever my negative is on is the positive. We want to read a positive voltage, 12.5 volts, so we know whatever. Oliver, what? What is it? That's my cat. He's going nuts over there for some reason. Alright, so we know that we have our polarity right. So this is our positive and this is our negative. We're just going to want to do something so we know. Look at the wires, see if they're different in any way. So yeah, our wire that is our positive has these nice little gray stripes going down it, so we'll be able to keep up with that. And with our float charger, we'll need to do the same, but it'll be a little easier because we have it already labeled with positive and negative. So as long as we make sure this positive goes to our one with the stripes on it, we'll be able to solder these together and plug the float charger directly into the generator. So that's what we'll do now. We're going to go in and we're going to solder these in together. Okay, so here we are. We're back in the shop and about to solder this onto this guy right here. Now, like I said, this is just a float charger, and going to be using the little Burns-O-Matic soldering iron. I would normally use a electric soldering iron. I just can't find it right now, so that's that. We're going to use a butane one. Let's go ahead and we're going to get that warming up here. Alright, we're going to let that start warming up there. And just like with this guy, not wanting to cut it off, you know, right at your charger or your clip, because you want both ends to still be usable. These are still good battery terminal clips, and I'd hate to lose them just because I'm doing a project. So when I cut these off, I'm going to give them a good little bit of wire there. Just both like that. Remember which side was positive. That's a fun thing to do. Alright, the one with the white stripes is the positive one. And if you remember correctly, our little wire here is the striped one is our positive. Same as this. Not saying it's always going to be like that, but you never know. I'm going to pull out the old auto strippers here. You don't need to strip back a whole bunch. We can always trim it back off though, whatever we don't use. I have to say, these things are awesome. Anybody who really doesn't think so, I guarantee you that they're using this on solid core wire. Does not work good on solid core wire. It works good with, you know, braided copper wire or anything braided. It just seems to grab a hold of that solid core copper, and it'll end up snapping your wire straight off where you really don't want it to snap off. Alright, so it's the way I learned how to do it. I'm sure it's not correct, but it always has worked for me. Now I don't want it to be like this and we have a weird angle, you know, when we try to put it together. I would rather it be nice and straight. So what I do here is I kind of cross them about right in the middle, and you start twisting them from opposite ends, and you twist it around each other until you get to your ends there, and you just keep twisting it until it's tight enough. Then if you can see, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that or not. No, won't be able to see it. Well, twisted together here. and it'll be fairly secure until we solder it. Now, a lot of things with soldering, people have a lot of trouble with it. I've seen a lot of people have trouble with it. One thing that will always help is a little bit of flux. I don't see a lot of people using this, which is pretty much a mystery to me. I have a hard time even making solder stick without it. Doesn't take a whole lot, just enough there to make a little bit of a glob on there, and it'll melt in as soon as we start soldering with our soldering iron here. So we're going to come in. What I like to do is get a little bit of solder on the tip. It'll kind of cup it there just like that and have a ball, and I'll come up under it with that ball and just touch it, and you'll see it'll burn that flux right off of there. Just go across the top and the bottom and soldered. It may not be the best or the prettiest. Actually, I could use a little bit more solder on that. Let's put a little bit more on here, just like so. And then you can actually take your wire and just touch it into the ball of solder, and as soon as that wire heats up enough, it will flow into it, just like that. Alright, and we have a soldered connection. Now normally I would like to have some heat shrink tubing for this, but I don't have any, so we're going to go the old electrical tape route, which is just wonderful. Alright, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cross them right in the middle and then twist one to one end and one to the other end, and then we have a nice braid there. Now normally I would use some alligator clips or something to hold this, but it's just such a small job, it's not really even necessary. Like I said, a good little glob on there. Don't know how well you can see it or not, but yeah, just a little glob there. We're going to come back with some more solder. And get some on our wood table. So it gives tables character. Alright, and we're going to come up under. That solder is going to melt the flux, and the flux be replaced with solder. Get a little pin off there. And that's it. We have a soldered connection. Now, when I go out, I can plug this float charger in and have it go directly into my generator. May not have been the best way to do it. Don't know, don't care. I'll show you how I'm going to wrap these up here in just a second, back out when we're at the generator. So let's move back out there and we'll pick this up out there. Okay, so we're back down at the generator. We've got our freshly soldered wire. I have to wrap this in some electrical tape here just to keep these from you know, tearing up, touching each other. Now, I'm splitting these really wide apart. I'll show you why. I want to start at before my actual solder joint and wrap around a couple of different times. And then once I get past my solder joint, I'm going to bring my wires back together, and I'm going to go around both wires. Not only is this going to protect it, but it'll also hold the wires together as we're doing everything. Alright, so got our electrical tape going. Now we need to test everything, make sure it works. Going to plug in our float charger. Alright, now we're just going to test, make sure we've got the correct voltages going. Put our positive right down in the middle, touch our negative to the side, and we are getting right at 14 volts, and it's not negative, so we have our polarity correct. Now everything went correctly. I should be able to plug this in. Actually, let me double test this. Okay, so we're getting 12.4 volts off the battery. Let's plug it in and see what we get. Alright. We're getting 12 and a half. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work or not. Alright, let's try. Alright. No change whatsoever. Our light does go to blinking. And now it's solid. And our voltage is dropping as soon as I unplug it, so it's telling me it's doing something. It immediately jumps up to 12.6 as soon as I plug in my charger. So that's telling me my charger's working. And now, instead of it just constantly feeding my battery voltage here and killing my battery within, a year, it's on a float charger, battery tender type charger. And it'll turn off once it's charged, and it won't turn back on until it recognizes that the voltage has dropped to a point that it needs to be higher, and then it'll turn itself back on, and it'll sit there and float up and down. So, got our battery installed. I'm going to give this a quick go, and we're going to find out if the new battery was the problem. So we're going to turn on our gas. It's our battery switch there. That connects the generator to the battery so it doesn't kill it when you're not trying to start the thing. Alright, let's put a little choke on it. And it started right up, so that's a success. When you're done, also, you got to turn this off, otherwise it'll keep draining the battery as you go. But I just wanted to show y'all what I was doing with this and show you what I had to do to it to get it running correctly. I'm going to take a little bit of a video going around. I'm going to show you what kind of damage this tornado did to our house, and yeah, and we'll talk about that. Alright, so we had this huge cedar tree go down right here next to the house. Luckily, it didn't make it all the way to the house. If that big guy there would have went, we would have really been some kind of screwed there. Yeah. But luckily the tornado didn't get that guy. It came from that direction there and came straight across, went across the porch and back that way. But I'm just going to walk you around. I'll show you a little bit of what happened here. We had this massive tree go down into our lake there. There's part of our roof, another part of a roof, and a down tree back there. See, I'll take you over here to this corner. This is where most of the damage ended. We got most of our roof over here. And then still got some roof way up in that tree there. Yeah, so got a lot of stuff to clean up and plenty of trees to cut back. My next video, cutting these trees up and getting a nice pile of them going, and I'm going to actually split them on my homemade wood splitter. Made a screw type wood splitter out of a pressure washer, and yeah, gonna kind of show you all that as soon as I get all of this chopped up. So keep an eye out for those two videos. I imagine the last one, of course, will be me splitting everything, since I'll have to cut it first. But as always, y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see y'all on the next one.